Hmm. Hello. Welcome to Shmirchik Professor's Corner, where you'll experience all the unpleasantness that comes with me, including bluntness, being offensive, and opinions which you won't enjoy. But recently, I've been a little bit confused because I'm trying to get a few projects in order, and so that's been confusing with me, but I guess that's what happens when you try something new. So until you get a full grasp on it and until you learn more about it, that's what happens, right? You kind of get a little bit muddled and confused, and you don't know, you neglect other things such as other projects. Right? So I thought to myself, you know what, since I'm a little bit confused about what to continue, which project to continue, I only love Yahweh. I said to myself, since I only know a few, since I'm still confused about what to do, what to continue with, I'll just do the news, right? The Israeli news, what's happening today, and I'll try to, we'll try to talk about the Israeli news and talk about what's going on here from our perspective and not from some Jew-hating website, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of, there's a lot of traitors among us within Israel and the Jewish nation as a whole. There are people, it's always been that way. You know, you always have the Jews throughout the generations who basically went against the Jewish nation and joined the non-Jews who wanted to kill us and cause more of us to die. And so that's really sad, right? But without further ado, let's go and see what's new, right? So, it's always going to be that way. In every people, you'll always have people who will, for whatever gain that they, forever monetary gain or whatever it is, they will turn against their own and cause lots of grief. So, Prime Minister's office reports major breakthrough in conscription law crisis. What does that mean? The two-state solution to kill Jews, destroy Israel. Oh, okay. Israel retrieves body of 2 hostages from Gaza, right? So this is the sickness of Hamas and the Gazan people because, Hamas and the Gazans are pretty much the same. It's like a civilian army. It's like Israel's a civilian army. Most of us are in the army. Our children are in the army, right? It's not like 1% of the population is in the army. It's a civilian army. So it's the same with Hamas, right? Like most of their children are in Hamas. The families are involved. It's like a family business. So not to say that our IDF is a business, but not to compare because Hamas is terrorists and the Gazans are bad people, right? But, the Gazans, it's a family business. It's like the cartels, The cartels, they're all involved in the same type of evil behaviors. Hi, John, peace seeker. Like the cartels, they will do for drugs. They will do evil behaviors. They will do sex trafficking. They will do human trafficking. They will do They will harvest organs, right, to make money. Anything to make money. Brainwashed by the Islamists, yeah. They will even go and kill for revenge. They will go and they will kill entire families. Like that's the behavior of evil people, regardless of what title they have. So the Gazans have the title of being Hamas, right? And they are like a family business, like the cartels. And so, right? So what's the point? The point is that, I guess, basically my little brother's in town, and it's really sweet. I'm so happy he's here, and it's so interesting because when I'm around my family, I just feel this care and this love and this compassion, and I just care so much for my family. And then when I'm away from them, like yesterday, we went to Tel Aviv, and I forget what did we do? We hung out. Where did we go? We went to Tel Aviv, yeah, and we went and we ate out, and it was really nice. And then I came back late at night, and I came back to my town, and I was away from my brother, and I was feeling so sad. It was like feeling withdrawal, like, I guess, I'm not used to having my family around here, so when they're away, it gets really, really hard and sad for me. But that's besides the point. So what's the point? The point is that we're on the train on the way to Tel Aviv, and my brother's friend, one of his friend's sisters, like a lot of the Jewish people in America, they're very like, they're very like pro-Palestine, and they're very like, oh, I don't support the actions of the IDF in Gaza, like as if they know better than us. And then when you try to talk about it with them, they say, I'm not talking about this, I'm not talking about this. And I was like, oh my god, like seriously, bitch? Like seriously? You know what I'm saying? Like seriously? Like, it's like, hear no evil, see no evil, I don't want to talk about it. Oh, the poor Gazan children are dying. Like, they believe in the propaganda of Hamas. They believe in the propaganda of the mainstream media in America. They will stand up against themselves. Like, they will take on the narrative of the enemy against their own people, against the state of Israel, against the Jews in Israel. And as if that's gonna somehow help them, save their life in any way, right? And especially since this girl herself she wears pants, she's not religious, right? And she doesn't look like somebody who would be even a religious Jew, or somebody who a Muslim would respect. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the Muslims, even though they hate the Jews, if a Jewish person is very religious, they will have more respect for them than the Jew who is secular, right? They have zero respect for Jews who are atheists. Not to say that that's correct, that's right or wrong, but the point is that the Jewish people in America that think that somehow Islam is not the cause of what's going on in Israel, and they close their eyes, and when you try to talk to them about it, see no evil, hear no evil. I tried to say to her, like, oh, like, I tried to say something like, we have to play the game of the enemy, right? So, for example, Hamas, they like to play mind games with us. They like to fuck with our brain, right? And smuggling body organs, also done by the Hezbollah, yeah. RGC too, yeah, Iran. So, Hamas, they like to fuck with our brain, right? So they took hostages, and then they make all these propaganda videos to try to bring emotions out in the Israeli public in order to collapse Israel from within. And so they know how to fuck with our mind, right? And it's sad because a lot of the Israelis, they will basically they will behave exactly like Hamas predicted. They know Israelis. They understand the mentality that our weaknesses is the people that we love and care for. That's our weakness. You know what I'm saying? It can break us all up from inside, right? And so I was telling this girl, I was like, we have to use how they think. So, for example, if you want to make deterrence in the terrorists, what you have to do is, I start to say, like, in Islam, they hate pigs, right? I start to say the word Islam, and suddenly this girl, she says, oh, I'm not talking about this. I don't want to talk about this. We're not talking about this. And I was like, whoa, bitch. Like, excuse you? Like, oh, your majesty, you don't want to talk about this? Why? You love our enemies? You love the Islamists? You love the Muslims? You love the Arabs that killed us? Oh, you don't want to talk about it? Why? Hear no evil, see no evil, close your eyes, close your ears, everything's okay. You think it's going to just disappear, all these problems, and the truth that I'm telling you, you don't want to discuss it because you disagree with it, because you think that we are killing babies in Gaza, and you agree with our enemies, Greta Thunberg, who wants the destruction of the Jews in Israel and the Jewish people to die, right? Like, that's who she sides with. So I was like, okay, bitch, fuck off. Like, there's no excuse, she's already 35 years old, this girl. And I was like, oh my god, like, you're 35, have you never picked up a book? Like, not 35, 25. At 25, there's no reason for ignorance on your own history, on the history of Israel, right? To have that opinion about Israel yourself, to take the side of the Muslims against your own people, it's sick. Do you know what I'm saying? It's evil, it's wicked. It's like, it's so easy to pick up a book. I know it's hard to focus these days, but, one or two books, of the heroes of Israel, of Zionism, right? Like, go look up who's an impartial author, somebody who is actually, people who are actually not, are very factual, and they're not going to put propaganda in the books. You can do your research, and you can read a book and see. Usually the truth is somewhere in the middle, but she wouldn't discuss it. So I was like, you know what, like, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about it. It's so sensitive. Oh yeah, the Muslims, kiss up to the Muslims. Like, yeah, you take their side, against Jewish people, you take their side, fuck off. You're not. I will never be a friend with somebody that, even if they're the sweetest person in the world, if you side with the terrorist organization and you think it's okay that the narrative that the media is spinning about my brothers and sisters who are fighting for their lives in Gaza against these monsters, then you know what? You don't deserve to be in my life or in my family's life. And in fact, you shouldn't be allowed into Israel, right? These kind of people that hate their own shouldn't be allowed into Israel. Do you know what I'm saying? It's traitor. It's traitors. It's do you know what I'm saying? So, it just really disturbed me. But the one thing I'm really glad that I got into the narrative with this self-hating Jewish girl, like, it's just really sad because I think that even in the time of the Holocaust, right, when Hitler was spinning his propaganda against Jews and Jews controlling everything and Jews controlling the bankers and being the bankers and controlling the world, a lot of Jews even bought into it. And they didn't realize that, like, they might have thought, because the propaganda was showing, the Hitler propaganda, Goebbels was showing Jews, like, with the Yaeli Pious, with the sideburns, right? And with the beard, and they made them look grotesque and really bad. So some of the Jews might have been like, oh, that's not me. I'm not religious. You know what I'm saying? It's them. It's the religious Jews, And a lot of the Jews, they might have even started to believe the lies of the propaganda of Hitler. And in fact, I think it's the truth. A lot of Jews actually, they bought into the conspiracy theories, and then they didn't believe that Hitler would actually kill them all, right? And so a lot of them, they didn't pick up the vibe. They didn't understand what was happening. And they just thought, oh, this is my country. No, nothing bad's going to happen to us. And then they just got slaughtered. You know what I'm saying? It's the same type of attitude like today. Like, they believe the same propaganda from our enemies, from Hamas, from the Jew haters, from the traitors, from the media. They believe the narrative that Jews are baby killers. This narrative goes back 2,000-3,000 years. The Romans tried to demonize us, that we kill babies, and the Christians for 2,000 years, saying we kill Christian babies to put their blood in the matzah, right? And right? So like, I know personally some Jews who actually believe in these conspiracy theories of the Jews controlling the world and the Rothschilds, and it's just like, it's really tragic. Do you know what I'm saying? Because when the propaganda is so good that even Jews start to believe it, there's something wrong there. Do you know what I'm saying? There's something really, really wrong. But one thing I'm really glad I got in was that I told her, this girl, before she left, right? I told her, I said, Putin, hate him, love him, or hate him. But Putin, he knows how to deal with terrorists. How do you deal with terrorists? There was a terrorist attack. I don't know if you remember, like half a year ago or 2 years ago, and these terrorists, I'm not sure where they're from, Chechnya or whatever, they shot up an entire mall. They killed like 150 people, and the police hunted them down, chased them down, and the soldiers and the police, and they caught these terrorists. I told this girl that. I said, they caught the terrorists, and the soldiers went. I said, you know how Putin deals with them? He cut their ear off. I know it might make you feel like barfing, but he cut their ears off. There's videos of it. They cut the ear off of the terrorists, the ears, and they force-fed it to the terrorists, their own ear, right? And then they beat those terrorists up into pulp. And then they had due process in court. How did they have due process in court? They were so beaten to pulp that they're unconscious. So they have their day in court, but they're unconscious. Do you know what I'm saying? That's the way you deal with terrorists. So what I was trying to tell this girl, I got that through to her. But what I was trying to tell this girl about, deterrence, and I was going to tell her about, because Islamists, they hate pigs. They hate everything, but they hate pigs especially. It's a dirty animal for them. And so if you want to deter terrorists from doing terror, what you do is every terrorist that does terror, you execute them, firing squad or hanging them, right? And you wrap their body in pig skin because they hate pig. They can't even touch pig. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Jewish people, we can't eat pig, but we can touch pig. We can even have it on a farm as a pet. We can play with pigs, but we're not supposed to eat it. But the Muslims, they can't even touch it, right? So you have to play them at their own mind game. You have to fuck with their own mind just the way they fuck with us. So you have to take them, wrap them in pigskin, and hang them up high on a tall crane for all to see, and that will be deterrence, because no Muslim wants to be... Oh, and they should do the executions. They shouldn't just do it privately. They should do it in public, and women should be the ones to execute these terrorists, pigs, and women should be the one wrapping them in pig, because, in Islam they hate women. So, and if a woman kills them, this is what I heard from Rebecca Barsef. If you go look at her channel, if a Muslim man gets killed by a woman, he's considered an outcast. His whole entire clan, his tribe, is considered an outcast, and they're made fun of and they're mocked, and it's dishonorable. So, how do you do deterrence? Israelis are so stupid. If I were in charge, I would be like, this is how you do it. We have our Israeli beautiful girls, and you have thousands of terrorists sitting in our jails. Figure out which ones did what, and which ones should get the death penalty. Probably all of them should, but, they did crimes against humanity. If they raped, they should get the death penalty. And you have women carry out the executions, because then that's shame for the Muslim Islamic jihadi. And you wrap their body in pigskin, and you do it up there, and you video it for all to see. And it should be up there for days, right? And it should be in Gaza, say, this is your sons and your daughters. This is your sons and your daughters if they did jihad. You hang them up in the pigskin. You play them by their own game. I tried to get that across to that girl, but she didn't want to listen, because she's a little bitch, When I was 18, if you're 18, it's fine to think like that, because, when I was 18, I was like, I came to Israel when I was 18, and I was in seminary, and I was like, I come from a very conservative home, right? My father's Russian, so, from Ukraine, Russia, which was back in the USSR, and, so, my father, he's very conservative, right? And what's the point? The point is that they have a certain way of thinking. There's a process to the way a Russian man thinks, right? There's a process to... My mother's South African, right? So, and her grandparents are from Lithuania, so it's like a very different mindset, and they're very conservative. So, it's a different mindset, right? And they have a different way of thinking, and the way I was brought up with my father is, my parents are like, it's sarcasm, it's dark humor, it's a little bit more old school style, and very practical, reality, this is what it is. The Muslims, they kill each other. My father always used to say, the Muslims, they don't even know why they're killing each other, but they're killing each other for 1,500 years. They're killing each other. They don't know why. The Shiites and the Sunnis are killing, right? Because they both think, we don't know what, they think that they're the real leaders, right? They descend from Muhammad. And there's this certain ways of thinking, right? But when you're younger, even if you hear that, the truth of the matter that, what type of religion Islam is, it's a religion of jihad, and it's a religion of violence, right? And if you're brought up and you know who Yishmael is in the Bible, right? But even with all that, right, the conservative values, right, and the mentality of realistic cynicism, my father's very cynical, because he's brought up in the former USSR, and he's, in the Russian KGB and all the communism, right? So it makes you a certain way. I'm brought up with that. So, right, so what's the point? Even with that, I still had that liberal mindset, because I have empathy, right? I'm a human being that feels for other people. And so when I came to Israel, even with all that background, I saw in Hebron, for example, where our matriarch and our patriarch are buried, right? I was staying with the family, and I had the wherewithal and the disrespect to say to them, as a young girl, I said to them, because they have checkpoints in Hebron, where there's one street where the Jewish people live, and I see you, John, 1 minute. There's one block, one long road, about 5 blocks, the length of 5 blocks, where Jewish people live in Hebron, in Israel, and surrounded by like close to 1 million Arabs, and the Arabs that live within that block where the Jewish people live, right? Because there's only like a few hundred Jewish families that live there. They need to get checked. They need to get checked that they don't have bombs or knives or guns to murder the Jewish families there, because they are known, the Muslims there are known to murder and butcher the Jewish families there. And one Muslim, even from the roof, he had a gun, which was like a what do you call that? A sniper, right? And there was a baby in the carriage outside the synagogue, and the sniper killed this baby, newborn baby named Shalhevet. And this is the type of thing that they do. They do terror. And so me being a little naive, not naive, but like disrespectful and feeling empathy for the wrong people, I was feeling empathy for the Arabs. I was like, I said to the lady, oh my God, like I saw the Arabs getting checked, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so humiliating. You know, like I feel so bad. Do you know what I'm saying? So I go there and I said to the lady, the family, I said, isn't it embarrassing that the Arabs, like, isn't it humiliating that they have to go and get checked? And she got so upset, and she turned red in the face, and she's like, what do you mean? They're trying to kill us. They're killing us. And at that moment, something clicked in my mind, and I understood that it's not fun and games. It's not a joke when it comes to people's lives. Like, all these people living in America that they think they know better than the Israelis. They think they know better than the IDF. They think they know better than our state. They think they know better than the Israeli Jewish people living in Israel, and even the non-Jews here. They think they know better, right? And they think they can have an opinion, and they have all this misplaced empathy. And it clicked in my mind that, like, this misplaced empathy, it's wrong, because these people, if you have enough empathy for them, and you go soft on them, and you let them free and do whatever they want around where you live, they will, if you don't check them, at some point or other, sooner than later, they will have a gun, and they will have a knife, and they will start stabbing children, Jewish children. The Muslims will start stabbing the Jewish children. They'll start shooting up the Jewish women, pregnant mothers. That's their way. That's what they do best, right? And so that clicked in my mind, and I was like, oh, okay, these people, if you don't check them, they will kill you. They will murder your whole entire family. That's what they do, right? And then I felt shame, and I still feel ashamed today that I said that to that woman, but I think that it was an important lesson that I had to learn, and my arrogance, right, to think. And now that I think back, I say to myself, what is a little bit of humiliation to a Muslim when literally they will take the steps? They don't feel the shame when it comes to murdering Jews. They have no shame to do that type of thing. But somehow it's a disgraceful thing that we have to check them so that they don't kill us. But they have no shame. For them it's shameful to be checked, but they have no shame to go and murder Jewish babies, right? Like, that's what's happening here. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't believe they have shame. The only shame that they have is they usually, if they have, like, you know, they dishonor for them is if, like, a man has a daughter and the daughter is raped, they kill the daughter. They don't kill the rapist, they kill the daughter, because the daughter brought shame to the family by being raped. Like, that's the mentality of Islam, right? So John says it's satanic cult, and it's about jihad, terrorism, anti-woman slavery and corruption. Yeah, so if you, and I live here for 8 years now, and plus being here when I was 18. So I understand the mentality. I can see, when I first came, I couldn't tell who's Jewish, who's not, right? I couldn't tell. But living here for a little while, you start to learn the faces. You start understanding the expression, the faces. You know who's who most of the time. Sometimes you can't tell. But most of the time you can see, oh, this is a Muslim, this is a Jew, this is a, this is a Russian non-Jew, this is a, you see all the people, all the different types, right? So, and you understand the mentality. And I lived in Judea and Samaria for most of the time I was here, right? I lived in the northern near Nablus and near Ramallah, right? And so I understand the mentality of the Muslim, right? And so for all these like these little wimpy people in America that think they know the mentality of Islamic jihadis, they have no idea what's coming to them, because like they think they're all free to walk around with their pink hair and their bosoms sticking out, and their cleavage and their pretty dresses, the women, and they think they're okay to be gay. But the Muslim is not tolerant of that. The Muslim, they will kill you if you're gay. They will kill you. They will throw you off a roof, right? Like, that's who they are. That's what they believe. It's haram. I have a dog, right? And I'm holding my dog, and when I was doing like streams about Islam, right? If you go look at my channel, you'll see that I read books on Islam and how like Islam's dismantled, and we trash it here on this channel. And I had Muslims wishing me death threats come on my channel, and they see my dog and they say, how can you have a dog? It's haram. Why aren't you covering your hair? They tell me. I'm like, dude, I'm not a fucking Muslim. I don't have to cover my hair. And I understand that your great prophet didn't like dogs, but I love my dog. And they say to me, oh, it's haram. You can't have a dog. You can't have a dog in the house. I'm like, fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they hate everything. They hate everything holy. They hate women. They hate dogs. They hate everything. They hate alcohol. They hate... You know what I'm saying? There's a whole list of things that they hate. And it's disturbing because these people don't understand the mentality of Islam, right? That if the population spreads, the Muslim population, they will force you, they will rape your woman because you're the infidel, convert or die. They will, they have no problem raping little boys because the boys are not considered male until they hit puberty, right? So it's just very disturbing, the whole thing. But it pissed me off that, like, these Jewish, liberal Jews, they think they know better. Like, oh, the settler violence. I'm like, really? Really? The settler violence. If they don't act violent towards the Muslims, you have to speak their language. If you don't act violent towards them, you will land up in a coffin. That's what's going to happen to you and your family if you don't show strength in the form of violence towards the Islamic jihadis in the West Bank. They will slaughter you and your family. And that's what they did to the Fogel family in Itamar, right, near Nablus. They butchered 2 teenage boys, came with knives, and they stole weapons from another Jewish family. They found a gun in someone's house, and they came and they started stabbing them, and then they shot them up, right? And they killed babies, children, in their beds. Bloodbath. And so, hi, yo mama. So, I want all these sick people to leave to Israel. Yeah, at least in Israel. Israel must be banned. No, the truth is, here in Israel, the Israeli Arabs, they're pretty well behaved, considering all the chaos, considering the disrespect and the jihad. They're pretty, they know their place, and they know their place. And when they know their place, then usually they behave. But I made a video about every time there's like Memorial Day, for example, Holocaust Memorial Day, the Israeli Muslims have zero respect for our Holocaust Memorial Day. Everybody will stand up on the train. The siren will go off, for a moment of silence. And all the Israelis will stand up. All the Jewish people, the Christians will stand up on the train. This train will stop. Everybody stands up and moment of silence to do their prayers, to meditate on and remember the dead people in the Holocaust. But the Muslims, if they're on their phone talking, they continue talking. If they're sitting, they stay seated. Zero respect for the Holocaust victims. That's how sick they are, like it's something that's really disturbing. Like, they have this really bad attitude. Like, fundamentally, they don't think that Israel should exist. So, with those type of people within Israel, are they really our friends? Can we trust them? I think not, right? Even though they're part of society fully. And anyone that says that, oh, it's apartheid, they're a bunch of morons and idiots. I think that they know better, I care about safety of the Israeli citizen, yeah. Yeah, you do, right? So, I just had to get that off my chest because of the stupidity of people in America, right? Now we're going to go talk about the major breakthrough in conscription law crisis, right? So the Israelis, basically, the government wants to draft Haredim, which is the ultra-Orthodox people, into the army, and they don't want to serve. They don't want to serve. And the problem is that, you know, I have this place where I go to for hobbies. One of the places I go to figure out, like, what hobbies I want to do, you know? So I meet somebody, like, every 2 or 3 weeks. I meet this woman, and she helps me decide what hobbies I want to do, right? So, for instance, I took up swimming. That's one of my hobbies. And if I want, because I have a membership, I can go do the gym, and I can go do Pilates, and I could do yoga, and I could do all this programs that come with this membership that I got in the gym and in the pool. And so I go to her to decide, like, what other type of fun stuff there is to do in this town. And so what's the point? The point is that we're discussing, socialism, and, like, Israel is part socialist, part capitalist, and the problem is that, like, there's so many people in Israel that are actually very traumatized. It's a traumatized country, right? You have, because of the Islamists that tried to do jihad, right? And there's so many people that have lost mothers, lost kids, so many orphans, so many broken families because of terror, Islamic jihadi terror. And so it's as if there's not enough doctors and therapists and psychiatrists in Israel to help all the traumatized people. And on top of that, we have socialism. So there's, like, very high taxes, and everybody has socialized healthcare. So you have high taxes. So it's very hard to actually, and everything's very expensive here. So it's very hard to actually, if you want to buy a house and have, like, a little bit more of a luxurious lifestyle, it's very hard, right? So most people here live very simply, and if they have a nice house, it's because they usually either have help from family, or somehow they are very aggressive in business, but still, they get heavily taxed. And so then, yeah, so I was speaking to this lady that was she likes the idea of socialism, like the mixture that we have here. And she likes that nobody is going to be left on the street. Everybody gets the health care they need. And she liked that idea. But a lot of the secular Israelis, and even the modern Orthodox Jewish people living in Israel, they don't like the fact that the Haredim, the ultra-Orthodox people, like in this picture, a lot of them, they get welfare, right? And they get money for every child they have. They get a lot of money from the state. Meanwhile, a lot of them are anti-Zionist, and they don't believe in the state, but they'll take from the state, which is hypocrisy. And then they have really bad attitudes, right? So, you know, you can't, if you're not wearing the right color and you walk down the street in their neighborhood, then they might spit at you. Do you know what I'm saying? Even if you're a religious woman and you're wearing the wrong color, that their children, their teenage boys will walk around spitting at you, you know. And so that's a very disgusting thing, and so that's a problem within Israel, and it starts from the top. So there's a lot of resentments from the regular people who are contributing to society, who see the ultra-Orthodox people as being leeches on the society and stealing all of their taxpayers' money, right? So it's a big problem here. So what's the point? The point is here, the government's trying to get them to serve in the army, but they want to just learn Torah all day, have babies, and they don't want to contribute. They just want to have babies and do their own thing. But that's selfish. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why should they get funded by the state from working Israeli secular people, and they get to mooch off of it as if they have a right? Do you know what I'm saying? So the state is trying to get them to draft them into the army so that they can contribute. You know what I mean? But they don't want to. So it says here, the Prime Minister's office announced overnight Friday that significant progress has been made in negotiations aimed at reaching an agreement in the draft law. The statement followed a meeting that included Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee Chairman MK Yuli Edelstein, Likud former Minister Ariel Atias Shas, and Cabinet Secretary Yossi Fox. The discussion focused on resolving the remaining disagreements over the regulation of yeshiva student status. It was noted that efforts are underway to finalize the details before Shabbat. The draft law remains at the center of a deep-seated political crisis within the right-wing coalition, with mounting tensions between the Haredi parties and the other coalition members, threatening to destabilize the government. Key issues still need to be resolved before the legislation can be finalized. So these religious fanatics, like, as much as I am all for learning Torah and keeping the Jewish law, like, it comes to a point where their behavior is not reflecting the values of the Torah that they study. And they have very bad behavior, and on top of them not wanting to serve, they're really, like, I don't like to say it myself, like, oh, they're being a burden to society, but they are. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I live in Israel, and I want to contribute, you know what I mean? Like, I want to somehow contribute to the state. I want, not that I, you know what I mean? Like, I don't worship anybody or anything, worship the state, like they say, but I want to contribute to the society, right? I want to help people. I want to give. I want to be part of the system, right? And, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if I had a child, I don't know if I'd want them to go to the army and serve, especially if I had one child and there was, like, a war, you know what I'm saying? And I know it would be really hard, but, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would like to have a child, or a few kids, but I don't know if it'll ever happen, but, like, it would be really cool to have a child born here, and they'd be Israeli, and they'd be part of the society, and they would, either do, you don't necessarily, you have and a lot of the Haredi people, they have a choice. They can either do the army, or they can do community service, which is really good, and even that they don't want to do. Right? So I'm saying a lot of the people that if they have one child and they don't want to send them to the army, they can do community service. But that's something they don't even want to do. Right? So it's a big problem within Israel, and I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, so it's a problem with the law. They're trying to fix it. So you have all these, like, rabbis who are part of the government, and whatever. So let's go back to see what else there is. Orthodox right scores landslide victory over Reform left in U.S. Zionist Congress delegation vote. I don't know what that means. Okay, IDF strikes Hezbollah underground missile facilities in Beirut. Very nice. The two-state solution to kill Jews, destroy Israel. Yep. Israel retrieves body of 2 hostages from Gaza. Right. So the sick perverts. Right. Like, I don't know how anyone. When I saw what they did to the Bibas babies, right? That poor mother and her 2 babies, when they took her, she knew that they were going to kill her, with that look on her face when she was trying to protect her babies, and these Hamas civilians came into her home, kidnapped her and the babies, forced them into Gaza, and then they strangled the babies to death, and they killed the mother. And they held the bodies of the babies, and they held the mother's body. And when it came time to do a swap, right, to get dead bodies, we had to swap some live terrorists who did terrible things to Jewish people, and they swapped them in exchange for the bodies. And the Hamas, they like to do propaganda, they like to do a whole show. So what they did, you can go look it up yourself, what they did a whole ceremony dancing with the corpses of the babies, and it was so grotesque, it was so disgusting, it was so demonic. If you want to know what demonic behavior is, and how dark and evil, what evil looks like, all you have to do is go look up the behavior on how they danced with the corpses, with the coffins of the dead children and the mother, and then they played a game, and they sent some random Gazan woman that they murdered, thinking that we would somehow not know who, we would think that that's the mother, right? They sent, and then they had to swap the bodies, right? Like, get the mother, get the real the real Bebop's mother of the babies, and it was just so disgusting. And if anyone sees that and they don't understand what evil is and what evil looks like, they are evil people. If they can't recognize evil, they are evil, right? And if to not know who's in the right and who's in the wrong. And then recently you have Piers Morgan, for example. So this guy and his wife, right? They killed him and his wife, and they held their bodies. And finally, the IDF found their dead bodies, and they brought them home after 600 days. The IDF has brought home the bodies of Gadi Haggai and Judy Weinstein Haggai, murdered and kidnapped from near Oz on October 7th. These were like peaceniks, you know, who actually went to Gaza, and they would help the Gazan people, and they would employ the Gazans. But you can't trust a poisonous snake. You just can't. It's just not, you know. Yeah. So I do understand, going back to the whole point where I was like liberal when I was 18. I do understand where they come from, you know, like with the empathy. But it's misplaced empathy at some point. If you look evil in the face and you don't recognize it, and you don't understand what you're dealing with, and you still empathize with evil people, then you're a bad person. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just so simple to me. You know? Ice Detain's family of Colorado firebomber Mohammed Solomon, right? So this lunatic, evil, wicked monster who tried to set Jewish people on fire, right? His family, because they're illegally in the U.S., they should be sent back, right? The terrorists will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We are investigating to what extent his family knew about this heinous attack, if they knew of it, or if they provided support to it. I am continuing to pray for the victims, right? So this lunatic here, 9 injured, 1 in critical condition, right? These people were basically marching to bring awareness to about the hostages, and he basically set them on fire, right? You see all the smoke. He set people on fire with cocktails, set people who are alive on fire. This is a terrorist attack, right? And now all the Americans are, oh, you know, the poor guy. The poor guy. The poor guy's family. They're going to have to go back to Egypt. That's where they belong. They don't belong in America. The Egyptians, the Muslims there, they hate Israel, and they hate Jews, and they hate America. What is he doing in America? Freak.
He's right there. He's throwing Molotov cocktails right there. Yeah, and you going to jail, man.
So you see, he's such a coward. He didn't want to die, so he followed orders. When the police told him to lie down on the ground, he followed orders because he didn't want to get killed, because he's a coward.
You don't antagonize shit like that. You cause this shit. He's not. He didn't do anything. Chill. He's right there. He's throwing Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, terrorists. So, wow. Noam suggested that Solomon's wife and 5 children could be deported very soon if they had been involved in the father's crime. Following the attack, the State Department revoked the visas of Mohammed Solomon's wife and 5 children. According to she can marry someone else, and in Egypt, I'm sure there will be lots of men lining up to marry her. Right? Mohammed Sabri Solomon, 45, an Egyptian citizen whose U.S. visa had expired, plotted for a full year. A violent attack fueled by deep-seated anger towards Israel and hatred of Zionists. According to federal authorities, the federal hate crime charges reveal that Solomon's plan came to a head last Sunday when he left an iPhone with messages for his wife and 5 children at home, then drove to downtown Boulder armed with a homemade flamethrower and Molotov cocktails. He targeted the mostly elderly participants at a peaceful Jewish rally in support of the Gazan hostages. Right, so these are peaceful people just doing their own thing, trying to raise awareness, and he's violent, right? This is Islam. Violent. 12 people were injured in the assault, during which Solomon shouted, "Free Palestine." According to the FBI, he later told investigators that he wanted to kill all Zionist people and wished they were all dead. Well, all Jews are Zionists, so he's a Jew hater. He told investigators that the only reason he had not attacked sooner was his waiting for his daughter to graduate high school, to send his fucking Sharmuta bitch daughter back to Egypt so she can marry some Egyptian old fucker. And that's that, right? Let's go and see. Let's go and see. What do I want to go and see? Let's go and see. Okay, it's too bright for me. Let's go and see. I want to show you guys. Oh, I wanted to show you Putin. How he treats terrorists. How Putin treats terrorists, right? Let's go look. Let's just show you the lesson on what to do with terrorists, right? How should soldiers and civilians and others treat terrorists who do bad things? Terrorism in Russia. In Russia, right? Terrorism in Russia. Let's go see. Russia opens terror investigation after railway explosion in Voronezh region. Russia says it strikes against Kiev, other centers of surprise Ukrainian terrorist attack. Ukraine-Russia's crisis. Islamic terrorism. So you have to do Islamic terrorism in Russia. Right? Since the First Chechen War, there has been a number of attacks by jihadists in various Russian cities with the Dubrovka theater hostage crisis. Over 150 dead, right, in 2002. Let's go see that. What happened there? Okay, let's go see what happened there. Okay, terror in Russia. Reject. Terror attacks in Russia have killed hundreds over the past quarter century. DW looks at the Moscow. I don't know who DW is. Is it Daily Wire? Okay. Theater crisis. The Beslin school shooting and other attacks and their political repercussions. The Moscow concert hall shooting on March 23rd had become the deadliest terrorist attack in Russia in 2 decades. In the past 25 years, Russia has seen several terrorist attacks by terrorists, reportedly from Chechnya and other regions in the North Caucasus. Some were religiously motivated, some were carried out by separatists with political demands. The fight against terror has enabled the Kremlin to consolidate power and restrict political and public freedoms. DW looks at the deadliest terror attacks in Russia's recent history and their political consequences. So, 1999, apartment bombings. Wow. So, in September 1999, 4 explosions hit apartments blocks in Moscow, Voynasks, in the Republic of Dagestan, and Volgodonsk in southern Russia. The blast killed more than 300, left over 1,700 injured, and spread fear among millions across the country. The Kremlin blames Chechen militias for the attack, though some have dismissed it as a conspiracy theory. Several journalists and Russia analysts believe the explosions may have been orchestrated by Russian intelligence services themselves. The apartment blocks bombing were among the factors used to justify sending troops to Chechnya for the Second Chechen War. This response gave Vladimir Putin, who was prime minister at that time, a boost of popularity ahead of his first presidential elections. Then there was the 2002 theater Moscow hostage crisis. In October 2002, armed Chechen militants seized the crowded Dubrovka theater in the center of Moscow during a performance of the popular musical Nord's Ost. More than 900 audience members and performers were taken hostage. The attackers demanded the withdrawal of Russian troops from Chechnya. After 3 days of negotiations, Russian special forces stormed the building after releasing a gas into the auditorium. All 40 takers were killed. Some 130 hostages died, and several hundred more were injured, largely due to the effect of the gas and late medical assistance. The chemical formula of the gas had been kept secret. So this is how he deals with terrorists. He doesn't negotiate with them. Not only did the terrorists die, but the hostages died too. You know, while people will say like, oh, you know, like that's questionable, right? Like if you negotiate with them, then it incentivizes the terrorists to do more of this hostage taking. Here, when he doesn't negotiate, you know, the terrorists, they understand that they can't get anything. They're not going to get anywhere. They're just going to get killed. And yes, the hostages get sacrificed at the same time. But perhaps it's deterrence to deter more hostage taking, right? The attack resulted in a crackdown on Chechen separatists. Putin promised to respond with measures adequate to the threat, striking all the places where terrorists might be located. Following the attack, the Russian Duma also passed anti-terrorism legislation, including restrictions on the media. In the years after the attack, human rights groups reported that the Chechens in Moscow became the subject of police harassment. Then there was the Beslan school siege, right? So then there's this whole thing. You want to hear what happened there? And then there was 2010 suicide bombings. Yes, they do terrorism, but they don't have so many terrorist attacks, it seems, because Putin doesn't negotiate. They're not going to get anywhere. They're not going to get anywhere, right? 2004 Beslan school siege. On September 1st, 2004, the first day of the new school year in Russia, armed terrorists occupied a school in the town of Beslan in North Ossetia. They took more than 1,100 hostages, including 777 children. The hostage takers were Chechen rebels under the command of Shamil Basayev, who demanded the withdrawal of Russian troops from Chechnya and recognition of the region's independence. This time, Russian authorities did not engage in negotiations. On the third day of the siege, special forces stormed the school building, allegedly after the terrorists detonated bombs inside the school. Some witnesses and investigators say that the bombs exploded after the shooting from outside the school began. During the operation, 31 hostage takers were killed. 31 hostage takers were killed. So that's the terrorists, right? And 334 hostages died, including 183 children. 10 days after the attack, Putin addressed the government and proposed abolishing the direct election of regional governors to streamline the administration of authority and better fight terror. Thus, the Kremlin not only consolidated national power, so every time it was a power grab, but also took the first step towards overseeing federal subject governments. But how often do they have terrorism? You know what I'm saying? For a big nation like Russia, right? Like, the terrorists, they don't get anywhere. They don't get anywhere. I mean, I don't know how many. Maybe I'm wrong, but like they there's nothing. There's no one to talk to, so they're not incentivized to do so many terrorist attacks. Like yes, they will do terrorism. They will kill for fun, for sport, because that's what Islamic jihadis do. But the idea of hostage taking, right, and negotiations. There's no one to. If they see there's no one to negotiate with, then they won't. It won't. They won't. They'll see that they're just gonna end up dying, and like there is no benefit to taking hostages, right? In Israel, it's become a thing. You know, like it's very beneficial to take hostages for the Muslims. It's very beneficial to take hostages because they see that they can get terrorists back. They can control Israeli society. They can split the Israeli society, and they can take us down. Because we care so much. Because we negotiate with terrorists. Right? In the 2010, several suicide bombings took place across Russia, mostly linked to jihadi militias from the North Caucasus. In March 2010, 2 suicide bombers were carried out in Moscow metro, killing 40 and injuring more than 100. In 2011, a suicide bombing took place at the International Arrivals Hall at Domodedovo Airport in Moscow, killing 37 and injuring 173. In October 2013, a bomb exploded on a bus in the city of Volgograd, followed by 2 other bombings in December, hitting a train station and trolley bus. The total numbers of victims came to more than 40. So you see they do suicide bombings, and they do... But it looks like if they think that they're going to get... Putin's going to negotiate with them, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, because he says, okay, the hostages die, and so there's no incentive. He kills everybody. Not to say that I'm not saying that it's a good thing to kill everybody. What I'm saying is that you have to think of a different way, a different strategy. If hostages are taken, you need to think of a different way to get the hostages back. For instance, there's this guy named Mansour Askar on YouTube, and he says that in Israel, at some point there were some Druze people who were kidnapped by some terrorist group, and so the IDF and the intelligence, what are we gonna do? They're thinking a whole plan, and then they get a call and they say, "Oh, the hostages have been returned." What happened? Some people from the Druze community went to the people that they knew, the tribe of people that stole that were holding the hostages, and they kidnapped like more of the, like, say the Islamic Jihadi group came to the Druze village and kidnapped 5 people, took them hostage. The Druze went to that community of jihadis that stole them, and they kidnapped double the amount, and they said, for every hour that our hostages are not returned, we will kill 5 of them. Right? That's how you do. That's how you deal with terrorists. You don't negotiate with them. You play them at their own game. You steal them, and then you execute their people. That's how you do it. That's their language. Oh, it's immoral. You see, like the people in the West, they it's immoral. Yeah, but if you're dealing with savages, if you don't play them at their own game, you will lose. Like, what's the alternative? Do you know what I mean? Due process. In 2011, a suicide bombing took place at the international arrivals at the Dovo airport in Moscow, killing 37, injuring 173. Right. On April 2017, another attack with an explosive device took place in St. Petersburg metro, killing 15 and injuring 45. In contrast to the Beslan and the Dubrovo theater attacks, terrorists did not make any demands following those attacks. Several special operations followed in North Caucasus, and the security measures were tightened on public transportation across Russia. Right. So I want to just show you what happened to the terrorists. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, the way there's videos where they chased the terrorists down, and they cut their ears off and they fed it to the terrorists, and then they beat them to pulp, and they had their day in court, but they were unconscious. So that's what you do. Do you know what I mean? You don't, like, you don't play nice with the terrorists. You beat them up, you feed them their ears, and they'll have their day in court, and they'll be unconscious. And then you can read out their crimes, and they can die in jail. Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, their lives don't really matter. Okay, so how Russians deal with terrorists and what they do to them. Right, how do they deal with them? Now, this is a PDF. I don't want to read a whole thing. Let's go see if we can see videos. Russia targets Kiev. Not Kiev. Oh, how Russia deals with Islamic Jihad. With Islamic terrorists. Right? So here, at least 20 killed in terrorist attack in Russia, officials say. A gunman attacked churches and a synagogue in Russia, Dagestan province on Sunday, killing at least 20 people. Oh, here.
At least 20 people.
No, never mind. Here we go. Here, this is what I wanted to show you guys. Who's ready to see the grotesque way that they deal with terrorists? Who's ready?
2 men have been charged in connection with Friday's attack on a concert venue just outside Moscow. Authorities now say at least 137 people died after 4 gunmen fired at concert goers before setting the building on fire. Well, today was declared a national day of mourning for the victims. The Islamic State group has released graphic footage which appears to back up its claim of responsibility. But Vladimir Putin has suggested Ukraine was involved. Here's our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg.
Right, so this was recently, like a few years ago.
Moscow, wherever you looked, wherever you turned, you could see. This was a country in mourning and in shock. Across Russia, flags flew at half-mast for the victims of the concert hall massacre. And at the scene of Friday's attack, Crocus City Hall, the queues grew longer and longer. The National Day of Mourning experienced most acutely here. There was an outpouring of sympathy, a mountain of tributes to the dead.
As well as leaving flowers and candles,
People have also been bringing soft toys and sweets, because amongst the dead there were children. They've also been leaving messages. One is addressed to the attackers, and it reads, "You are scum. We will never forgive you." Among the crowd, there was a mixture of grief and anger.
It was a big shock because I live nearby and I saw it from my windows. It's horrific and a big tragedy.
Such a terrible loss, says Natalia. I'll never forgive or forget. Bring back the death penalty, Yevgeny says, for terrorists, for sure. This is how the attack had begun. With gunmen in the foyer and desperate attempts to take cover. The attackers moved on to the auditorium. By the end of this, more than 130 people were dead. Four suspects have been arrested.
This is what they do with the terrorists. Look how they got them. See, this is what you do with them. There's no humane treatment.
Tonight, the suspected gunmen appeared in court. Russia claims they've been caught fleeing.
But should I feel bad for them? Like, should I feel bad that he looks that way? Like, look what he looks like. They beat him to a pulp. He's like unconscious. He's staring into the abyss. He can't see. He's not seeing clearly. He's staring into the abyss. Should I feel bad? Like, should I feel bad that they beat him up like this? Like, he deserved it. He was a terrorist. He killed people.
Into Ukraine and had contacts there.
Yeah.
Four suspects have been arrested. Tonight, the suspected gunmen appeared in court. Russia claims they've been caught fleeing to Ukraine and had contacts there. Kiev fiercely denies any link to the attack. The Islamic State group...
Did you see that guy's ear? Did you see this guy's ear? They cut his ear off and they fed it to him. So his ear is in his body. And I still feel like throwing up when I think about it. But, you know, like, that's how you deal with terrorists. What are you going to do?
Kiev fiercely denies any link to the attack. The Islamic State group says it was behind the shooting. And on this day of mourning, silent prayers for the somber...
They didn't show the guy that was wheeled in unconscious. He had his day in court. Those two guys were barely conscious, but they fed him his ear. But the other guys, they wheeled him in with unconscious. I don't know if they'll show him.
President Putin. The Kremlin says he lit a candle for the victims in church at his country estate. And Russia is praying that there will be no more attacks. If there are, that will test people's faith in the president to keep them safe. Steve Rosenberg, BBC News, Moscow.
Well, tonight, France has raised its terror threat level in response to the Islamic State group's claims of responsibility for the attack in Russia.
So they're so muted. They're so like, show the violence. Show.
And you've been watching this unfold throughout the day. You immediately started hearing from sources that this looked like the work of ISIS. Why?
Like you said, this is an ISIS claim, so there's nothing definitive yet, but this was a mass shooting on civilians, not usually the work of a nation state. That kind of attack you do to scare civilians in their way of life, and this was an attack on a concert hall. This is something typical of terrorist organizations. Consider the Paris Bataclan attack, and not to mention, this is March 22nd. This is the anniversary of the 2016 Brussels attack that killed 32 people, and that was claimed by ISIS.
Okay, so some might wonder, why is ISIS targeting Russia?
For a few reasons. For one, Russia was one of the Assad regime's greatest allies during the Syrian civil war and bombed ISIS regularly. So
you have to go see the terrorists, what they do with terrorists. Do you know what I'm saying? They show them how they beat them up, and they show the violence, how you deal with them. Right? Yeah, so it's I don't know if you get the point. Russia captures ISIS terrorist plotting attack in India.
Russia has detained an Islamic State terrorist who was allegedly planning an attack in India. The suicide bomber was detained by the Russian Federal Security Service. He is planning to travel to India and plotting a terror attack against one of India's elite leadership. This is what Russia's Federal Security Service had to say in the statement, and I quote, "The FSB of the Russian Federation in Russia identified and detained a member banned in Russia by the international organization Islamic State, a native of a country in the Central Asian region, who planned to carry out an investigation on the initiative of one of the representatives of the ruling circles in India." End of quote. As we mentioned in the statement, the terrorist was a native of a Central Asian nation. According to the FSB, the detained was recruited as a suicide bomber.
Whatever, I don't know. Yeah, okay, so that's that. So let's go back to whatever. I can't find the videos now of the violence, but not that I want to see it, but I just want to get a point across, right? So it looks like they don't take hostages anymore. They've only done it a few times in Russia, and then after a while they just give up on that, and they just decide to do suicide bombings and shootings, right? Which is not good, but at least they don't take hostages because they see it doesn't help them, right? Veteran commentator claims ultra-Orthodox are not Jews. What? Veteran journalist Nehemiah Strassler comes out forcefully against the ultra-Orthodox public and says they are not Jews. This is a cult whose purpose is to arrange good lives for its members. Really? Okay, Netanyahu on Khan Yunis disaster. A sad and hard day. Oh, because today there was 3 soldiers who were murdered. They were killed in the building collapsed on them. Idea. Here's what we know about incident killings. 4 soldiers, right? So 4 soldiers were killed today. March to Gaza. 10,000 protesters plan Egyptian border breach after Thunberg flotilla. Oh, so there's Greta Thunberg, right? This lunatic Greta Thunberg decided to come to Gaza. She decided to come to Gaza. Right, so a large group of international activists plan to march on Gaza's border through Egypt, inspired by Greta Thunberg's recent flotilla stunt. Let them! Aiming to protest Israel's actions. The provocative effort, lacking official approval, risks escalating tensions while ignoring Hamas's role in Gaza's plight. A dangerous escalation is brewing as over 10,000 anti-Israel activists from 32 countries prepare to converge on Egypt's Rafah border crossing in a so-called global March to Gaza set to begin June 12, 2025, orchestrated by Progressive International. This reckless stunt mimics the recent publicity-driven flop of Greta Thunberg's Freedom Flotilla. She's such a little lunatic, you know? Okay, Greta Thunberg's new cause. Why her Gaza flotilla leaves former fans divided. Greta Thunberg, once a celebrated climate activist, has sparked controversy by leading a flotilla to Gaza and adopting a polarizing anti-Israel stance. Critics argue over her oversimplified narrative. Her oversimplified narrative ignores the complexities of the Israel-Palestine conflict, aligning with trendy Western activism. Okay, let's go see her coming to Gaza, the Hubba. Shall we? Okay. The Swedish activist posed for photos in Palestinian garb while delivering a token shipment of milk and protein bars. These performative protests, cloaked in humanitarian rhetoric, exploit the Gaza conflict for clout, parroting Hamas propaganda, while ignoring the terrorist group's role in prolonging the 20-month war. Because no one is acting proportionately to the tragedy, Gaza is starving, crushed, isolated, Progressive International declared on its websites, echoing Hamas's narrative of genocide to justify their border breach attempt. Participants, including radical figures like Yanis Varoufakis and fringe groups such as Taxpayers Against Genocide, will gather in Cairo, travel to Al Arish, and march towards Rafah, camping in tents until June 20. Will the Egyptians allow these lunatics to come into Gaza? That's my question. Organizers admit they lack Egyptian approval, making their plan to violate a sovereign border during wartime both delusional and provocative. So Egypt can kill them, you know, if they see them going towards the border. Because Egypt doesn't want any problems with the border between them and Gaza. Because Egyptians hate the Muslims in Gaza. Because that's just the way they do things. With the Islamic jihadis, that's the way they are. They hate each other. Egypt, a key mediator in the region, is unlikely to tolerate this chaos. Israel, already on alert after thwarting Thunberg's flotilla, warned on June 4th, 2025, that it is prepared to act accordingly. How do they get to Israel? I don't understand. To prevent authorized incursions. Meanwhile, Gaza's own residents have protested Hamas, with thousands demanding the group's ouster for dragging them into endless conflict. Listen, you get what you pay for, you know? They support Hamas. They celebrated on October 7th, so fuck them, you know? Hamas has responded with executions and abductions, exposing the hypocrisy of activists who claim to champion Palestinians while ignoring their oppressors. This march, like Thunberg's photo op, is less about aid and more about trendy anti-Israel posturing, with 3,000 aid trucks stalled at Rafah due to Hamas's obstruction. These activist stunts distract from real solutions, endanger regional stability, and trivialize the suffering they claim to address. All for social media clout. Right. Why the IDF sometimes goes into dangerous buildings. I don't want to hear it, you know, like, why go into these buildings? Just blow them up, you know? Why would you send, like, every building in Gaza is booby-trapped by Hamas. So you send the soldiers in, and you know that they're going to die. It reminds me of, like, the story of Ariel Sharon, where he said that the upper command above him that weren't on the ground, they were ordering him to send soldiers to their death. And he knew the people in the government that were making these orders, they didn't care to hear what Ariel Sharon, who was on the ground, was saying. He was the commander, and he was saying, if I send them, they're gonna die. It's like sending, it's a suicide mission. And the state, the people in the government didn't care, like Moshe Dayan, who, and another guy who was in the defense ministry, they didn't care, you know? They just sent them in to die. So it's like the same concept here. Like, they know that they're gonna die, and they send them on suicide missions, which is evil. It's like, who are you for? Who do you care more for, the enemy or for your own soldiers? Why would you send soldiers on a suicide mission when you, like, what's the point? What do you hope to gain from that, right? I guess in this instance, they hope to gain the, you know, the affection of the world, you know, like, oh, we're so good, look at us, we're not killing innocent people, we're not, like, you know, we put our own soldiers at risk to save any civilians, any of our enemies' people. That's what we do, we're so noble. Meanwhile, the world doesn't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. In fact, they double down on the world. The more we try to please them, the more they double down on their anti-Semitic false accusations. So what's the point? It's like, almost like, I feel like, you know, like Ariel Sharon, he said a lot of the time when he was making demands of the state, and he was saying, like, what they're doing wrong, and, like, to listen to him, because people are going to die, he felt like he was screaming into the wind. In this case, I feel like I'm just like a broken record, just repeating what a lot of other people that know what's going on here are saying. And who's listening? No one. I guess it's just therapeutic, you know what I'm saying? And for anybody that comes upon channels like mine, right, they can get a different perspective maybe, but most of the time their mind is set. So does it make a difference? No. Right? It's just, there's no point, really, right? Okay, we're done with this. Now let's go to J-Post, right? Where are we? Where are we? She's depressed and a psycho, 100%. They are jihadi sympathizers, and they are morons, and they don't care about Arabs. They're just anti-Israel. Yeah. And interesting is Islamists hate the Greta so much because she is from the West, and Islamists hate the West. Yeah. But, you know, we're just repeating. It's like we're a broken record, screaming into the wind. The world hates us. So, you know? Learning Israel's enemies. Officer shed light on IDF intel gathering. Behind the scenes, how Israel intel uncovered Hezbollah drone network. So 4 soldiers are killed. It's just like really sad. Like I really feel for these families. Like look at this, these beautiful young men. Like just so handsome. Look at him. He's so handsome, and him too. Like for what? Why? Why are you sending soldiers to die? Why are you sending soldiers into buildings when you know it's booby trapped? Like why would you do that? But this is the rot that we have in our government, you know? They don't care for our lives, they care for the enemy's lives. So that the world will like us. Meanwhile, the world hates us. They don't care. Okay, we need to remember which airlines abandoned Israel, even if it comes at a cost. Now that the options to soar are limited, and while flying abroad can have a euphoric effect, keep in mind it will cost you to achieve this inner peace. By nature, somebody says here, who's writing the article, I am a glass half full kind of person rather than a glass half empty type. Living and working in Israel the longest war, with airlines and tourists avoiding us like the plague, it often feels like we are living in a dystopian world. We seem to take 1 step forward, quickly followed by 2 steps backward. We have seen holiday after holiday pass us by, scathed by the near dearth of foreign airlines. The summer of 2024 has much of the country traumatized by the war and the lack of progress with the hostages. Tens of thousands of citizens have been called up and excuse me. That was not me. You didn't hear what you heard. You're hearing things, you're psychotic. Incredible Pride post talks to IDF laser operator on cutting edge defense of Israel. Okay, let's go to Ynet News. Let's see Walla. Or Israel Today. Let's see the English news. The tragedy in Khan Yunis. Why did the IDF enter buildings in Gaza? FBI increased threat to Jews. And Israel is in the US? Yeah, so now there's a lot of... I'm worried for the Jewish people everywhere. Israeli Jews, I'm not so worried. But Jews everywhere in the world, I'm worried. Okay, let's see what else here. If you're a former beauty queen on my... Or she's a friend. She's a juror here. Who's this? That's the beauty queen? Border queen? Beauty queen? Right. Okay, the advertisements is just too much for me. Okay, let's go to Israel Today. JNS. We are all messianic, declares new Shin Bet chief. What? What? Using decidedly biblical rhetoric and employing terms most of our readers might take to mean he believes in Jesus. David Zini on Friday said his farewells to the IDF ahead of being confirmed as the new chief of the Israeli Security Agency. Serving in the defense of Israel, said Zini, a privilege that millions of Jews prayed and yearned for over 2,000 years. And like a dwarf standing on the shoulders of giants have been granted a double portion of this privilege. The girl is still happy, I still want to, still bored. Right? Ugh, such a big girl. Speaking at a ceremony this week marking the end of his 33-year military career, Zini offered thanks to the Master of the Universe. If you prefer, the Eternal of Israel who does not lie, referencing Samuel 15:29. Thanks you for granting me the privilege of being part of this special nation. Thank you for all that I have merited through my service in the IDF. Many were unhappy that the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tapped Zini to head the Shin Bet, deriding the general as too messianic for such a role. While most of our readers use the term messianic to label Jews who believe in Jesus as Messiah, in Israel the term is more often used to describe those who allow faith in the Bible to shape the political worldwide. Okay. Fuck the Messianic Jews. Fuck the Jews for J. They can go fuck themselves. Go jump off somewhere. They're evil. Why do I say that? Jews for J? Because literally they're embracing a religion that wants to erase us off the earth. They want to do... Before they wanted to do physical genocide, today they want to kill us with love. Right? Okay, between missile alert and routine... The change is gonna come, I know it, says somebody here. Bugs Bunny, Sirens in the Defiance at Jerusalem. Right Ring Valley. I don't know what else is there to talk about. Okay, we can go check the last news station. Ynet News. French rabbi assaulted. Gaza suspect arrested. What? Yeah. The Jews are getting attacked everywhere, especially in France. Did you see what's happening in France lately? France is being burnt to the ground. Burnt to the ground. Right? DHS warns of elevated threat to Jews. What's new, right? IDF's troops report gains in Khan Yunis. IDF, we can't enforce Haredi draft alone. Autonomous AI agents, blah, blah, blah. Meet the married woman. Meet the woman marrying into Israeli most watched family. Seriously? The Macron scandal, opposition, and unique friendship. So who wants to see his wife beat him up? What Judy said who are being taken to Gaza? Who's Judy? Scotty, Haggai, and Judy Weinstein. Haggai leaving their kibbutz for a morning walk shortly before they're being taken to Gaza. Oh, these are the people that were going for a walk, and then they were kidnapped into Gaza, and then they only got their bodies back now. Very sad.
Hello? Hello? שלום, מדברת אסתר ממד"א.
In her final moments, this lady that was kidnapped to Gaza with her husband, she calls the police to get help.
איפה אתם נמצאים? חוץ מהקיבוץ? מחוץ לקיבוץ? כן, בקיבוץ עזה. בשביל אביעד השדות שלנו. אוקיי, בסדר.
She's American.
מי נפגע?
Who has been injured? My husband and I think he's dead and I was hit in the face. She thinks her husband is dead. Yes, please help us.
תקשיבו, אנחנו בדרך עם הצבא. תגידי לי, הוא בהכרה?
Is he conscious? She's like, I don't know. His face, parts of his brain are out of his... Everything's covered in blood. I understand. Were you shot with a rocket or with guns? Guns. There were people with... There were terrorists in it that shot you with guns? Yes, they shot us. Are you someplace safe now? We're outside under a tree next to the road. Are there terrorists still there? Not at the moment. Listen, I want you for now to take care of yourself, okay? She said, I'll try. She's, as best as you can, tell me he isn't conscious, correct? He isn't responding. You're not next to him, correct? The terrorists aren't there anymore. I see, and where did they shoot you from? Did you see them? They came on the road. There were lots of motorcycles with live guns. They shot us. We were lying down and they shot us. Yeah, I'm hurt. Where did they shoot you? In the face and the hand. Okay, I understand. We're on our way. In the meantime, take care of yourself, okay? I'll try. We're on our way. And they took her body and her husband's body into Gaza. And they held their bodies and they only got them back now. So that, okay, let's go to... Excuse me. You didn't hear what you just heard. That was nothing. What's going on? Channels do I have here? Memory, Palestinian media. We can go and read reporting. The Spectator, honest reporting. Let's see that. Right, so these are people's family members that passed away. I don't know. I'm just too depressed to think about it. I'm looking for the honest Freedom News. Caller. Camera News? I think that's honest reporting. Never mind. Okay. Anyway. Yo. Right? Feel free to subscribe, 10 subscribe.